How many times have you heard avoid the passive voice? I've seen this everywhere. I've seen it in YouTube videos. I've seen it in blog posts. Avoid the passive voice. So don't use the passive voice like I was eaten by a shark, or the passive voice, you know what it is. This is nonsense. To me, I don't understand it. It's cheap writing advice that really helps no one. Why should you avoid the passive voice? The passive voice exists for a reason. If the passive voice exists in the language, it means that it fulfills a function. We need it. If you're watching on YouTube, have a look at this paragraph. I've taken it from Stephen King's On Writing, a brilliant book about writing. I'm sure that you know it. Maybe you've read it. It's a classic. Have a look. Reading at meals is considered rude in polite society. But if you expect to succeed as a writer, rudeness should be the second to least of your concerns. The least of all should be polite society in what it expects. First sentence. Reading at meals is considered rude in polite society. Stephen King used the passive voice here. Why? Well, because he made a decision and he wanted to focus on reading. Reading at meals, that's the subject of the sentence. Have a look at this other sentence from the same book. I like to get 10 pages a day, which amounts to 2,000 words. That's 180,000 words over a 3-month span, a goodish length for a book, something in which the reader can get happily lost, if the tale is done well and stays fresh. If the tale is done well. Again, we've got the passive voice. Why? Because we want to focus on, Stephen King wanted to focus on the tale, not the writer. So, if the passive voice exists, it's because we need it. When do we need it? When we want to focus on who receives the action, not who does the action. When who did the action is unknown, when we don't want to reveal it, when it's not important, when it's obvious. There are many situations that requires the passive voice. Sometimes the passive voice is the only option available. I challenge you now to find an active, a valid, secular alternative to this sentence. The earth was formed billions of years ago. Now, okay, you can say God formed the earth billions of years ago, but okay, let's leave religion in for other YouTube channels. Have a look at this stupid story that I've written. It took me like a couple of minutes to write this story. Have a look. Terrible day yesterday. I waited for 2 hours at the clinic. I was seen by a doctor who smelled of rotten potatoes. I was prescribed some disgusting expensive pills and told to quit mozzarella. When I got home, I was welcomed by my landlord, who told me to vacate the house in 24 hours. Not the kind of day I'd want to relive. Here, again, the passive voice has a clear function. It helps me keep the focus on the same subject. Me, I, because I keep using I in this story. So, when should you avoid it? Because there are times when we should avoid it, but we shouldn't make this big statement like avoid the passive voice. You want to become a better writer? Avoid the passive voice. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. This is when we should avoid the passive voice, when it creates confusion. For example, have a look at this. I wrote this to explain. My friend Mark and I went to the post office to collect a box of glasses. Okay, let me start again. My friend Mark and I went to the post office to collect a box of glasses I had bought online. After the man at the desk handed it to me, the package was dropped. Of all the 10 glasses, only one remained intact. I want him to pay for the damage. Now, who dropped the box? Was it the guy at the post office, or was it Mark? Who do you want to pay for the damage? We will never know. We will keep wondering about this for the rest of our lives. You shouldn't have used the passive voice there, because you're confusing us. Who did what? This is when you should avoid it. Another time, another example is when the active voice is the most natural option, which is most of the time. For example, again, I'll give you another example. We went to a Thai restaurant. Rice with vegetables was had by us along with rice paper rolls. A glass of Thai beer was enjoyed by my friend. But who writes like this? Like, I don't think, unless you have a very low level of English, and unless your language is full of your first language, maybe English is your second language, so your first language is full of these passive constructions, well, nobody writes like this. So naturally, we tend to use the active voice. So this is a rant. Sorry about the rant, but how about this? Avoid drinking coffee. When should I avoid drinking coffee? In the morning? Before going to bed? Should I avoid drinking coffee when I'm nervous? Before an exam? When? Can you please say more? Avoid using your smartphone. Okay, when? As soon as I wake up? When my car broke down in the middle of Australia? When should I avoid? Like, if you want to give a piece of advice, I think you should create a context around this piece of advice. It's not an absolute. Avoid using the subject I. When I write an academic paper, yes, that's suitable. That's a suitable piece of advice, because in an academic paper, it's science that's speaking. It's not really me who's speaking. So that's, in an academic paper, the subject, the personal pronoun, is it a pronoun? Can't remember. I should be avoided. But if I'm writing a personal story, well, okay, you got the point. So don't worry about avoiding the passive voice. Worry about writing clearly. Okay, stay tuned. I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching again. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're a writer and you want to improve your writing, or you want to keep improving your writing, consider joining my private email list, Better Writers. I send one short email every week. I share tips, insights, things that I learn, book recommendations to help you do one thing only: become a better writer. The link is in the show notes or in the description of this video. Thank you for listening once again. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.